Hey guys, it's Kevin from jazztime.com. Jazztime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. We offer the lowest prices anywhere online, and if you want to know the price of the watch, simply click on the links in the description below. If you enjoy our videos, we greatly appreciate it if you will buy a watch from jazztime.com once in a while. So today we're going to be doing a comparison between two Rolex watches. Here on my left we have the Rolex Sea Dollar in the 43mm in the two-tone, recently released at the Bezel World 2019 show. That's the model number 126603. And here on my right we have the Rolex Gmt-Master 2, or nicknamed the Rootbeer, recently released in the 2018 Bezel World show. And this is the reference number 126711. We'll be comparing the dials, bezels, case, crown, bracelet, clasp, and we'll talk about the movement towards the end of the video. Okay, so jumping right into the dials, you can see that they do have the same, basically the same dial structure in terms of the hour markers and date window and such. So we have the maxi style dial with a glossy black dial for both. We have the hour markers, circular hour markers, with indices for the 6, 9, and 12 o'clock, triangular 12 o'clock position hour markers, and they're fashioned in their respective gold. So 18 karat yellow gold for the Sea Dollar, 18 karat Ever Rose gold for the GMT. Now, the name Ever Rose Gold is specific to Rolex, as they call it the Ever Rose Gold, because they have a different mixture of metals when they make their rose gold, whereas other watch brands, they use more of a copper to make the rose gold more of a heavier red, shade of red than the pinkish red gold you see here for the Rolex Gmt-Master. And the extra mixture of metals that they use is they added platinum to it. So what that platinum does is it helps keep that sort of color, this pink coloring over throughout its lifetime. Whereas the other watch brands, when you make their rose gold, it does tend to fade over time. So the color that you see on this Gmt-Master 2, that rose gold will stay throughout its lifetime. And of course, for the yellow gold doesn't really, this yellow gold doesn't fade either. It will just keep that beautiful yellow gold look throughout its lifetime as well. One notable similarity is on the names of the watch. You can see at the 6 o'clock position, the Sea Dollar name, and the 6 o'clock position in the Gmt-Master 2. At the both names are glinted, so they are of their respective gold coloring as well. So it matches very nicely with the overall two-tone aesthetic that they're pulling off here, with the contrasting on the each hour marker to that black dial. Both have Mercedes hour hands with longer minute hands. One thing to know is Gmt-Master 2, of course, will have the additional hour hand, as the Gmt-Master is used for tracking an additional time zone, whereas the Sea Dollar sort of follows suit with the Deep Sea and the Submariner, as it is a diver's watch. So both pieces are sports pieces, but used for different functions, as once again, Sea Dollar for deep sea diving, and the Gmt-Master 2 for more for like aviators or travelers who have to travel into different time zones. You'll be able to do that for the functions. But both have the date window at the 3 o'clock position with a Cyclops lens on top of that sapphire crystal for easier viewing of that date. Specifically for the Sea Dollar, the Cyclops lens wasn't on the previous models, where the Gmt-Master 2 had the Cyclops lens from the start. The Cyclops lens was actually recently added in the 2017 version of the Sea Dollar, where they've actually upped the size as well, in conjunction with adding the Cyclops lens. So that 43mm sizing and that Cyclops lens was added in 2017 on the 50th anniversary style Sea Dollar. Interesting enough, it does not have the red texting of the anniversary edition, as it's not the 50th anniversary anymore, it's 2019. So that's why we have the glinted Sea Dollar name in that yellow gold, Okay, besides that, another similarity here is at the 6 o'clock position, as these are both newly updated watches. You'll see the Swiss made right underneath there, right underneath that 6 o'clock indice, but they've also added the little Rolex crown logo in between that Swiss made, and that's sort of Rolex's stamp of approval that they've updated the movements on both of these watches, respectively the 3235 for the Sea Dollar and 3285 for the Gmt-Master 2, which we'll talk about later in the video. But besides that, pretty much very similar dials. Of course, you're going to have a little bit larger dial on the pseudo because of that 43mm sizing. I believe I did charge these watches enough. What I mean by charge is that the hour markers themselves are luminescent, so they glow up to 8 hours with a highly legible chromolite display with long-lasting blue luminescence. So both of these do have a blue luminescence that lasts for up to 8 hours. I'm going to go ahead and try to show you that here. Okay, so you can see on that C-Dollar, nice blue luminescence, and on the Rootbeer as well, a little bit nice blue luminescence as well. So both of these watches have that nice glow-in-the-dark blue luminescence. All right, so moving on to the bezel now. So for the bezels, they are both black ceramic Cerachrome bezels, which is Rolex's fancy way of saying it's a ceramic bezel. So they have that nice glossy black for the C-Dollar and half for the Gmt-Master 2, because the bottom half is a nice brown coloration as for the throwback to its previous predecessor, the Rootbeer GMT, but however the previous one did have a gold trimming on top with a brown. But this is, you know, modern age Rolex now, so they decided to just stick with a nice brown with a nice black with the brown half undertone there. One thing to know about each one is that the C-Dollar is a unidirectional bezel with a 60-minute gradation. So you can see that you cannot change it to the right as it is unidirectional, only shifts to the left. And this bezel is used to track elapsed time. As you can see, if I move the triangular marker to the minute hand with the peridot, you can track the elapsed time from there. The indices arcing from 5-minute large indices to 10 to each even 10 Arabic numeral, and you can shift that back up to the 12 o'clock position there. We'll pass it a little bit. Let me just go ahead and realign that really quickly here. And there we are. Whereas the Gmt-Master 2, we have a 24-hour gradation with even numbers being in Arabic numerals and odd numerals, or not odd numerals, but just odd numbers being the circular indices between each even Arabic numeral. One small thing to note about this is that while it gets the Rootbeer nickname for having that nice brown undertone and the black overtone there, is actually it's a really nice estimation feature, from the 6 Arabic to the 18 Arabic and then 18 to the 6 Arabic kind of show the different time zones in the day or night cycle. So some 6 a.m. Across and all the way back around. It would be night and day cycles wherever you adjust the bezel. The bezel used on the GMT is to track additional time zones. So similar to how the peridot can be aligned to the minute hand, you can align the bezel to track a third additional time zone along with the adjustable second hour hand and the main hour hand as well. So you can just shift that bezel all the way around and should try to line it up with the next hour to track a different time zone, and it can be shifted both ways. The reason why the GMT can be shifted both ways is because why it could be a bidirectional bezel is because you're just adjusting it to use it for a time zone, and it's much easier to adjust that way. Whereas a C-Dollar is a diver's watch. You're using it for diving. And some divers do actually use a bezel to track the elapsed time in conjunction with their oxygen levels on their tank. Let's say they have 10 minutes left in the tank. You can shift that bezel all the way around to that minute hand, track the 10 minutes to the Arabic numerals, and you know, you'd be fine. But if you accidentally bump something, you went the other way, which would be towards the right, you would give a misreading of the elapsed time, and it could, you know, prove to be a problem from there. So we're going to go ahead and adjust that back to the 12 o'clock position for both. So for the gradations are coded in 18 karat yellow gold for the C-Dollar, Ever Rose gold for the Gmt-Master 2, the Rootbeer. Okay, so moving on to the case now. So the case sizing is going to be different for each. As I mentioned before, the $C is a 43mm case sizing that was changed back in 2017 when they updated it to the 50th anniversary version. So it's a 43mm when it used to be a 40. GMT stays true to the size, being a 40mm size watch. So index finger to my thumb here, that's 40mm in diameter, 43 in diameter for the $C. Let me show you the side profile of the casing. From the side profiles, you can see very nice high polish on each watch. The $C is going to have a larger case sizing compared to Gmt-Master 2. Well, while the Gmt-Master 2 is a little bit larger than standard, just because of the additional complication of having that additional hour hand and the crown function that I'll show you in a few minutes here. The $C has a larger overall size, mainly because of this little circular dot you see on the side of the case. That's the helium escape valve. Basically, as it is a diver's watch, there needs to be extra protection when coming up from a depressurization chamber when doing a deep dive. So there's a previous, I'm going to go ahead and put that Gmt-Master 2 down. So when divers come up from deep sea diving, they have to come through a depressurization chamber that has a mixture of gases pumped into the room, and one of those gases is helium. So this is called the helium escape valve. That helium previously would be able to get into the watch, or rather it can still get into the watch, and would pop out the crystal from the front due to the pressurization of having those gases in there. This helium escape valve was something Rolex invented a long time ago, and basically when the helium fills into the watch, there's a spring inside the helium escape valve that is open from a certain bar pressure, and that'll let that helium out, therefore protecting the watch. Not only that, but the back casing as well adds to that overall profile of the watch, as it is they want to keep that a diving watch. So moving back on, I'll show you the side profile of the GMT once more, so you can see a nice thinner profile. And then onto the other side, show you both crown sides now. You can see the thickness once more on both watches. But you can see the crown logo is pretty much the same, and in regards to the crown protectors, pretty much the same as well. Nice high polish on the sides of the casing to the crown guards, and on the crown itself, you can see the Rolex crown logo with 3 dots underneath the crown logo on both watches, and now those 3 dots represent the triple waterproofness system that Rolex has for their crowns. But specifically, the water resistance of both watches are going to be different. The water resistance on the Sea Dweller is indicated at the 6 o'clock position there with the 4,000 feet or 1,220 meters right underneath that Sea Dweller name. Gmt-Master 2 is not a diver's watch, so of course they're not going to indicate that on the dial of the watch when it's not its main function, but you can still have a nice guaranteed 100 meters or 330 feet of water resistance for the Gmt-Master 2 if it does come to that case. Okay, so moving on to the crown now. Of course, yellow gold crown, ever rose gold crown. We'll start with the Sea Dweller functions first. So Sea Dwellers unscrews counterclockwise as shown. The crown functions are going to be different by one adjustment for these watches. So in the standard positions where you can wind the watch, 15 to 20 winds is all you need to get the watch started once more. Tugging the crown to the next position will allow you to adjust the date instantaneously as shown by going clockwise. And then pulling the crown out to the final position will stop that second hand or the hacking movement. And you can set the time precisely, such as to an atomic clock online. You can set it down to the exact seconds for precise time setting. Pressing the crown back in will start that second hand once more. And always make sure to screw the crown nice and tight in against the case, as you want to keep that water resistance. Once again, 4,000 feet or 1,220 meters. And then for the GMT or the Rootbeer, same thing, counterclockwise as shown to unscrew the crown. Standard position of 15 to 20 winds for clockwise turns to get the watch started once more. But the next position, and where you will be able to adjust the date for the Sea Dweller, this one actually has what's called a quick hour jump system, where you can see the hour hand easily and quickly jumps to each hour marker. Of course, 2 revolutions, 24-hour period to be able to adjust the date once. But this is to help with the conjunction of the additional hour hand and the bezel as well, to set the additional time zone very quickly, very easily. So let's just say I want to do a quick adjustment. My typical example I use is going to be London to Philippines. So you're taking a business trip from London to the Philippines. We're going to go ahead and pull the crown out to the final position, adjust the hands bidirectionally, however I like, with the stopping of the second hand. We're going to shift over this additional GMT hand to 12 a.m. So we can just assume that's 12 a.m. there. Press the crown back in. Philippines times is 7 hours ahead, so we can adjust that local hour hand to the 7 hours, and there we are. So now we can see it's around 12:55 or so, right before, a little bit before that, in London time, and then we can track the Philippines time, where it would be around 7:53 a.m. Sorry about that. All right, so it's very quick, very easy to do, and then you can adjust the bezel for the next additional time zone as well. But we're gonna go ahead, instead, close out that case, screw it nice and tight in against the case. Once again, keep the watch nice and protected, water resistant. For the root beer, we're looking at 100 meters or 330 feet. All right, so let's go ahead and compare the bracelets now. So moving on to the bracelets, we have Oyster style bracelets, okay. Two-tone, as mentioned as before, we have two-tone 18 karat yellow gold, high polish straight down the middle for the 43 Sea Dweller, and then straight down the middle on the Oyster bracelet for the root beer. We have it in the Ever Rose gold. That 18 karat Ever Rose gold, nicely high polished, both of them nicely contrasted with a brush sand finish deal on the outer of the three-piece links, and to add a nice contrast to the high polish to really bring more out of it. One thing to also note is the nice tapering from the lugs, from the first link, from the lugs all the way downwards. You can see nice tapering from larger links to smaller links to give a nice proportional view overall. I'll go ahead and pull this back more so you can see more of those links. You see it looks nice and in proportion. Actually, one of the previous problems with the Sea Roller or the Deep Sea as well was that the links were a little bit too small in proportion to the actual case sizing, and they've actually updated it. Actually, you'll be able to see it here. You can see that it thins out on the outer of the links, while the center links are a little bit larger. Specifically, what they've done is they adjusted it by 1 millimeter on the gold links, where the outer satin finish links are reduced by 1 millimeter, and it actually worked out very nicely. As you can see, the patterning continues on straight through the clasp, nicely high polished as well, and onto the other side of the bracelet you can see the nice high polish of the 18 karat rose gold and the 18 karat yellow gold as well. Moving on to the clasp now, you can see they have the similar style clasping, similar style clasp. The Sea Dweller having a more elongated clasp, and there's a reason why for that. But before I get to that, this is a folding Oyster lock safety clasp, and that's the safety clasp because this little hinge right here with the Rolex logo on there actually sits as a lock on top of the folding Oyster. So let me open that up there, so you can see nice little safety locks with the Rolex logo that sits on top of that folding Oyster. The folding Oyster being this, as it opens up the clasp as so, revealing these nicely high polished clasp blades with the Rolex name embossed on there. So that's how the clasp looks opened up. All right, so as I mentioned, there is one thing I want to show you about the clasp on the Sea Dweller. The reason why is a little bit more elongated, of course, to match with the proportions of the bracelet, but also because it has the glide lock extension link. So what that is if you pull the bracelet at a 45-degree angle, you'll see that bracelet pop out a little bit, and you'll see these little rivets right behind the clasp itself. So what this rivet is, it's called a glide lock extension link. It's every rivet, it's about 2 millimeters thick, and it allows for a maximum adjustment for the bracelet for about 20 millimeters. So divers in mind, once again, this is a diver's watch. You can just simply adjust the bracelet, that 20 millimeters, very quickly, very easily. You might not even need all 20 millimeters, but that's just to keep in mind for those divers who wear the wetsuits and have that little extra millimeters of thickness around the wrist, and they want to still be able to wear the watch. You'll be able to adjust it quickly and easily. But if you're not a diver, and let's be honest, who actually will take a two-tone sea dweller down into the depths of the ocean of that 4,000 feet or 1,220 meters? You can also use it for everyday activities as well, such as a hot summer day. Your wrist swells up a little bit. You can adjust that bracelet to give more breathability to your wrist, or vice versa. On colder days, you want it to be a little bit tighter on your wrist so it doesn't flail around everywhere. You can do that as well. Whereas the GMTs, you can see smaller clasp, smaller watch. But we still have a sort of extension as well. So 45 degrees pull backwards. You can see there's little dot indices in front, and there's one in back as well. It might be a little bit too dark in the camera there, so I do apologize. So there's going to be a little dot right behind, one right in front, and that's called the Easy Link extension link. Basically, you'll be able to adjust the bracelet 5 millimeters outwards or inwards. So a smaller adjustment for those who are traveling around. Once again, hotter wrist, colder wrist, you can adjust your comfortability however you like. Not as much as the sea dweller, of course, but still a nice option to have regardless. All right, so let's talk about the movements. So we'll talk about the sea dweller movement first. Both of these movements have been updated, but we'll talk about that right now. So the sea dweller case backing, you can see very beautiful case backing with a nice high polish with the sea dweller Oyster sea dweller Rolex name embossed on there on that high polish. So very nice Oyster case backing. The movement itself is a 3285 movement, which was updated from their 3285, I apologize, a 3235 movement, which was updated from the 3135 movement, which was an in-house made movement by Rolex that was tried and tested for over 20 years. But now they decided to update it with the new upcoming Rolexes. Most of the movements have been all getting updates. So what has changed on the 3285 compared to the 3135? Well, it's still perpetual mechanical self-winding movement. Has the functions of the hour, minute, and second hand, instant change, changing of the date, stopping in a second hand. I've shown you with the crown functions. But what they added is they added their own in-house made Paraflex shock absorbers, which Rolex claims absorbs 50% more shocks than industry standard KIF shock absorbers that they were using previously. So in-house made shock absorbers now, and they have the escapement wheel, also in-house made, called the Korean Escapement, which is an escapement wheel made out of a nickel phosphorus. And it's also skeletonized as well, so that skeletonization helps with the reduction of inertia, which helps keep energy efficiency, and also helps the watch with additional timekeeping for precise timekeeping, keeping it within that Swiss specs of the -2 +2 seconds a day. And they actually boast about it here at the 6 o'clock position here with this superlative chronometer officially certified there at the 6 o'clock position. And the power reserve has been updated because of those changes. So we were previously looking at a 48-hour power reserve, I believe. Now it's a 70-hour power reserve. So you can put this watch on a Friday evening, pick it back up on a Saturday or Monday afternoon, and be keeping time just fine. So that's the changes. So once again, to summarize really quickly, the changes is a 3285 movement, addition of Korean escapement, and addition of Paraflex shock absorbers. So those additions basically apply to the new movement on the GMT Rootbeer as well. So the GMT Rootbeer runs the 3285 movement, where the previous movement was the 3185 before, and then it became a 3186. So from the 3186, now it's a 3285. What they've added in this one is, once again, those same two things on the sea dweller, the Paraflex shock absorbers and the Korean escapement. So we are looking at a 70-hour power reserve, same precise timekeeping, same boasting at the 6 o'clock position with the white text of the superlative chronometer officially certified, but just the additional touch of making all the parts inside of the watch Rolex made parts and Rolex in-house made parts, and sort of phasing out those older parts that were from different companies, like I said, the KIF shock absorbers. But besides that, the 3285 is just the 3285 is a GMT movement, so it not only has the function of the center, hour, minute, and seconds hand. We don't have the instantaneous changing of the date, as we have the jumping of the hour hand, instead, and of course the function of the additional hour hand as well. So really, the only difference between the two movements is that it's just one is simpler than the complication than the other. So you'll see the newer style like deep seas and submariners will have the 3285 movement, 3235 movement. Sorry, I keep getting the two mixed up. And the Gmt-Master 2, of course, just being a GMT movement, just has those same updates that they would have applied to the standard sports movement as well. All right, so now let me go ahead and show you these watches on my wrist now. So we're going to start with the C dollar. So locate that folding Oyster. So opens up as so. Close, and there we are, nice and secure. Actually, I extended the glide lock a little bit too far there, so you can kind of see I have an average man-sized wrist. I have a 7-inch wrist, and I extended it too far. Now it's going to be, shaking around and moving all over my wrist. So look at this, 45 degrees inwards. Slap that back in. Nice and secure. Bam. Now a little bit of wiggle room, not as much as before. It fits on the wrist very, very nicely. I did say, once again, I have an average man-sized wrist, 7-inch wrist, as most Rolex sports pieces do try to fit that 7-inch wrist, or rather 7.5-inch. So that's why there's a little more wiggle room on mine. I do have to mention though that this watch is very, very beautiful. This two-tone C dollar. Most people, I did see some forum comments and such, and they said, man, the C dollar on a two-tone, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't look good. Like, what is Rolex thinking? I don't know about you guys, but this watch is absolutely gorgeous in a two-tone. This is not an option for everyone, of course. Not everyone likes a two-tone on a sports piece, but we had some Mariners, the 116613 on the two-tone, and it's beautiful watch as well. Almost looks very, very eerily similar to it though, however I may say. But this gives it an option for those who have bigger wrists. This is a 43mm watch. You can see that side profile sits higher off the wrist, so it encompasses more space, encompasses more of your wrist space than the standard Rolex sports piece, as say the GMT that I have, which I'll show you in a second. So those with larger wrists that enjoy wearing the larger watches, like the deep sea being a 44mm and such, they have an additional option of wearing a sports piece. But not only do they have the option of wearing an additional sports piece, but they also have the option of getting one in a much more eye-catching, much more appealing tone as well, so they can sort of show off more of a sports piece that fits much more nicely on the wrist than the standard 40mm. Because let's be real, guys, there are people out there with larger wrists that do like to wear larger watches, and we just can't forget about them. And this 43 Cedo, I believe, fits the bill. So now let's go ahead and try on the Gmt-Master 2, the Rootbeer. Also very, very beautiful watch. I do have to say though, I was kind of surprised at the Everose Gold Choice on the Rootbeer, as the previous Rootbeer, I believe the model was a 16713. I believe I could be wrong there. Actually, no, it was a 16753. That was the model number, which was the original Rootbeer that had an 18-karat yellow gold instead, and had the brown dial with the brown bezel and gold bezel. While this one doesn't quite match the original Rootbeer with the original brown dials, nipple dials, and such things, this is still Rolex's modern take on the Rootbeer that looks absolutely gorgeous as well. The 18-karat Everose Gold matches very nicely with the flesh tone. The high polish being contrasted by its satin finish looks absolutely gorgeous. Doesn't sit high off the wrist. Won't give you a wrist fatigue. Has the GMT functions that are useful if you're a traveler. You travel to different time zones, and you just like to look at your watch a lot as well. The small glinting of that Gmt-Master 2 name that adds a nice contrast to that black dial. The brown, the half coloration of brown on the bezel with the black instead of doing a brown and gold. I believe it looks much nicer as well. That contrast of the black and the brown is actually a nice contrast I've never seen before, and actually I really like it. As well. It's definitely more unique and definitely a head turner as well. Here's the two profiles side by side. You can see higher profile and thinner profile on both wrists, but both are absolutely great choices for Rolex watch. So if you're interested in these models for the lowest possible price, check out our website at jazztime.com. We have the lowest prices guaranteed. We offer a 1-year warranty. And if you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe below. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model, and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.